In the video Solar Plexus Clown Gliders, commenter Lord Neptus says, "Damn right the Earth is in the shape of a dinosaur, ain't no denying it." And I replied, "Ah, I see, cultured you are." Honestly, I found that the best way to deal with conspiracy theorists is to top them with another conspiracy theory that's beyond their comprehension. So, I saw it in an old comment a long time ago where they're like, you can always beat a conspiracy theorist when they say something like, "Oh, the moon is a satellite created by the Earth," and you can just respond with, "Oh, you're one of those that believes the moon is real." I'm telling you, don't give in to the conspiracy theorists. In order to defeat them, you must become one. I think those two things I just said are like very counterintuitive. Pay that no mind. Enjoy the video. Artificial intelligence has come a long way in the past few decades. Today, we see AI being used as personal assistants in our phones. We see it being used in the creation of animation. It's used to develop complex enemies in video games, utilized in militaries, and AI is even being used today to detect diseases faster and provide personalized healthcare plans. The development of deep learning adaptive AI sure is fascinating, especially seeing what it manages to do and how it benefits society as a whole. That said, not everyone is too fond of all AI has to offer. Sure, the medical benefits and overall betterment of society that AI brings is often looked upon in a good light, but when it comes to AI-generated pieces of art, well, it's a much more heated discussion. AI-generated art, for instance, has come under fire because several users found that the supposed deep learning AI that scours the internet for sources to generate its art through algorithm actually kind of plagiarizes the work of others. As fascinating as that is, or alarming depending on who you ask, that's not what we're here to look at today. After falling into yet another rabbit hole, while, looking for videos to make, I found this article on businessinsider.com. This man used AI to write and illustrate a children's book in one weekend. He wasn't prepared for the backlash. Ignoring the controversy that befell the poor author, if you can actually call him that, Ammaar Reshi, the individual who used AI to write a children's book in a weekend, used a chatbot, an open AI called ChatGPT, to construct an entire book. The way this specific AI works is you type in a prompt, and the AI does the rest for you. Frankly, it's quite fascinating, and I wanted to give it a shot. Never mind the existential horrors of AI becoming sentient and eventually we end up in the plot of the Terminator, I wanted to see what kind of short horror stories the AI would be able to develop. Figured this would make an interesting video, so this is how it's going to work. I'll type in 4 prompts and read each one, and give you my thoughts afterward. Let's hope for some real spooky shit. Write me a horror story about a college girl and a stalker. Samantha was a college student who loved spending her evenings studying at the library. It was always quiet and peaceful, and she enjoyed being around books. But one night, as she was packing up her things to leave, she noticed the man sitting a few tables away, staring at her intently. Samantha didn't think much of it at first. Maybe he was just a fellow student, or someone who needed help with his work. But as she gathered her things and headed out the door, she felt a chill run down her spine. The man was following her. She quickened her pace, hoping to lose him in the crowd, but he kept getting closer and closer. She could hear his footsteps behind her, his breath hot on her neck. Samantha started to panic. She didn't know what this man wanted from her, but she knew it couldn't be anything good. As she turned the corner, she stumbled and fell to the ground. The man was on her in an instant, his hands grasping at her hair and clothes. Samantha screamed for help, but no one seemed to hear her. She tried to fight him off, but he was too strong. He dragged her into a dark alleyway, away from the safety of the main street. Samantha was trapped, alone with her stalker in the darkness. She didn't know what he was going to do to her, but she knew it wasn't going to be pleasant. She prayed for a miracle, but none came. The next morning, Samantha's body was found in the alleyway, brutally beaten and left for dead. Her stalker was never caught, and her family and friends were left to mourn her senseless death. To this day, students at the college still talk about the girl who was stalked and killed by an unknown predator. They say that her ghost still haunts the library at night, searching for the man who took her life, and some claim that they can hear her screams echoing through the empty halls, a warning to all who dare stay too late. Honestly, not bad for the first creation of, ChatGPT. I really didn't expect much when I was typing into the website, but that story was genuinely kinda creepy. I expected the AI to go the classic route of giving me a happy ending or something, but no, that shit was brutal. But yeah, I kinda like that one. Though, interestingly enough, it's funny how it really sounds like a lot of Reddit no-sleep stories or let's not meet again stories, save for the ending. But I guess that would make sense considering it's searching all the internet to try and create its own story. Props to this one, it was very well executed by the AI. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Write me a horror story about a skinwalker in the woods. There was a legend that circled around the small town at the edge of the forest about a skinwalker. The locals would often tell the story to the tourists who visited the area, warning them about the dangers of going too deep into the woods. But nobody really believed it to be true. That is, until one group of hikers ventured into the forest and encountered something that would change their lives forever. The group consisted of 4 friends: Rachel, Tom, Emily, and Jake. They had all grown up in the town and knew the woods like the back of their hands. They often went hiking together, and it had become a tradition for them to take a trip to the forest at least once a year. On this particular day, they decided to take a different route than they usually did. They wanted to explore the deeper parts of the forest, where few people ever went. They hiked for hours, enjoying the sights and sounds of nature around them. But as the sun started to set, they realized that they had lost their way. As they searched for a way out, they heard strange noises coming from the trees around them. At first they thought it was just the wind, but the sounds were too rhythmic and too close. They soon realized that something was stalking them. The group picked up their pace, but the sound only grew louder. They could hear branches snapping and leaves rustling, as if something was following them on foot. And then they caught a glimpse of it. A dark figure running alongside them in the trees. They knew they had to get out of there fast, but they were lost and didn't know which way to go. The figure continued to pursue them, closing in with every passing moment. The hikers started to panic, their hearts racing with fear. Suddenly, the figure leaped down from the trees and landed in front of them. It was a creature that looked half human and half animal, with long claws and glowing eyes. They had heard of this creature before, a skinwalker. The skinwalker started to circle them, its eyes fixed on each one of them in turn. The hikers were frozen with terror, unable to move. They knew that they were facing something that was not of this world. As the skinwalker closed in on them, they realized that there was no escape. They were doomed to be its prey, and so they stood there, in the darkness of the forest, waiting for their fate to be decided by the terrifying creature that had come to claim them. Alright, oh shit, that one was really good. I really like that one. Oh, I really like how it ended actually. At first I was like, okay AI, you're very blunt about just being like, oh hey, this is a story about a skinwalker, you know? I mean, it was also funny that the skinwalker in the story didn't really use elements of other Skinwalker stories, like it normally taking over someone else's body or looking like someone else, you know? But it treated it more just like a straight up monster, which I suppose it's fine because that's what a Skinwalker is. I also found it really funny that the story chose names like Rachel, Tom, Emily, and Jake. Like, the AI is, you can tell the AI is just so artificial because it uses the most basic names. I'm really sorry to anyone named Rachel, Tom, Emily, and Jake. Your names are basic. But no, I'm kidding, I'm sorry. But the AI, like, actually really ended the story really well. Like, it was just kind of creepy that it didn't tell you what happened. It kind of leaves it up to your imagination what the Skinwalker is going to do. And if you're familiar with the legend of the Skinwalker and that folklore by extension, just imagining the fates that these people have to go through, it's kind of creepy and crazy at the same time how the AI would create such an open-ended ending, I suppose. It was fun. I liked that one a lot. Let me know what you guys think about that one, because this one's my favorite so far. I know we're only 2 in, but let's go to the next one. Write me a horror story about a murderous teacher. There was once a small, rural school that sat at the edge of a dense forest. It was a quiet place where children came to learn and play, and the teachers there were kind and dedicated. But one day, a new teacher arrived, and with her came an air of darkness that seemed to seep into the very walls of the school. The new teacher was Miss Mabel, and at first, she seemed like any other teacher. She was kind to the children and seemed to care about their education. But soon, strange things began to happen. Children would go missing, and no one could explain where they had gone. The other teachers grew increasingly worried, but Miss Mabel always had an excuse or explanation. One day, a little girl named Emily went missing. Her parents were beside themselves with grief, and the police were called in to search the school and the surrounding woods. They found nothing, but that night, a strange noise woke the other teachers from their sleep. It was a low, guttural sound that seemed to come from Miss Mabel's classroom. When they went to investigate, they found Miss Mabel standing over Emily's lifeless body. The other teachers were shocked and horrified, but Miss Mabel seemed calm and composed. She claimed that Emily had fallen down the stairs and hit her head, but the other teachers didn't believe her. They called the police, and Miss Mabel was taken away in handcuffs. But that was just the beginning. As the investigation continued, more and more evidence emerged that suggested Miss Mabel was not who she seemed. Her past was shrouded in mystery, and there were whispers that she had a dark secret that she was desperate to keep hidden. As the weeks turned into months, the other teachers began to fear for their own safety. They knew that Miss Mabel was capable of anything, and they wondered who might be next. And then, one day, the unthinkable happened. Another child went missing, and when the teachers searched the school, they found a note from Miss Mabel. It was a chilling message that promised more violence and bloodshed. The teachers knew that they had to act fast. They banded together and devised a plan to trap Miss Mabel before she could do any more harm. They set up cameras and microphones in the school, and they waited for her to strike again. And then, one night, they heard the sound of footsteps in the hallway. They watched as Miss Mabel crept through the school, looking for her next victim. But the other teachers were ready. They had called the police, and they were waiting just outside the school. When Miss Mabel emerged, they pounced on her, and she was arrested once again. This time, there was no doubt about her guilt. She had been caught red-handed, and her reign of terror was over. But even though Miss Mabel was gone, the school was never the same. The other teachers and the children were left to deal with the trauma of what had happened, and the memory of Miss Mabel's murderous rampage lingered like a dark cloud over the school. And even now, years later, there are those who say that if you listen closely, you can still hear the sounds of her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. A chilling reminder of the horror that once took place there. Honestly, this story was kinda whatever. It wasn't bad by any means, but it felt kind of all over the place for an AI. I expected something more like I don't know, maybe a teacher was like killing students off little by little and no one knew who it was until the very end, and I kinda got that, but it seems kind of bizarre. Then again, it's an AI, so what can I really expect, right? That's kind of like, that sounds very counter to what I said earlier, right? Like, fanboying over the other stories. But in my defense, those stories were good. This one's, again, not bad, but it could have been better. So, you know, come on AI, step it up. I don't want to say that. What if, like, it eventually does become Terminator and ends up taking me? Nah, I'll live. I'll find a way. I'll live out of pure spite, just like I already am. No, but I think there were some parts that I kind of liked. As usual, the AI has a knack for writing almost linguistically perfect stories, and I really enjoyed that. That was good. The ending was kind of creepy. I like that too. But the rest of it was kind of not for me, I suppose. Maybe you enjoyed it. Who knows? You let me know in the comments below. But since I work in a hospital, I figured the last story should be about a hospital. So let's get to it. Write me a horror story about an abandoned hospital. There was an old, abandoned hospital on the outskirts of town that had been empty for years. The building was a maze of hallways and rooms, and it was said that strange things happened there. People claimed to have seen shadows moving in the windows at night, and there were whispers of ghostly apparitions that haunted the halls. Despite the rumors, a group of teenagers decided to explore the hospital one night. They broke into the building and began to explore, using their flashlights to navigate the dark corridors. At first, they found nothing out of the ordinary. The rooms were empty, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. But as they made their way deeper into the hospital, they began to hear strange noises. It was a low, guttural sound that seemed to come from somewhere deep within the building. The teenagers were unnerved, but they pressed on, determined to find the source of the noise. As they turned a corner, they found themselves in a long, dark hallway. The walls were lined with old hospital beds, and there were rusted medical instruments scattered on the floor. And then, they saw it. A figure in white, standing at the end of the hallway. The teenagers froze, unsure of what to do. The figure was still and silent, but it seemed to be watching them. And then, it began to move. It glided down the hallway towards them, its ghostly form seeming to flicker in and out of existence. The teenagers turned to run, but the hallway seemed to stretch out before them, trapping them in place. The figure in white was getting closer, its face twisted in a grotesque expression of rage. And then, it was upon them. The teenagers screamed as the figure lunged at them, its hands reaching for their throats. They tried to fight back, but their fists passed through the figure's ethereal form. They were trapped at the mercy of the ghostly presence that had taken hold of the hospital. As the teenagers struggled, they realized that the hospital was not just haunted by one ghost, but by many. The spirits of patients who had died within its walls, unable to find peace in the afterlife. And now, they were seeking revenge on those who had dared to enter their domain. The teenagers never made it out of the hospital. Their bodies were found days later, twisted and broken, their faces contorted in terror. No one ever ventured into the hospital again, and it remained a place of darkness and dread, a testament to the horrors that can lie hidden within the walls of an abandoned building. I really love this one. This one might actually be my favorite out of all of them. The first two weren't bad. They were actually really good. But this one just kind of knocks it out of the park for me. It really sounds like an old urban legend mixed with like a bit of Japanese or ghostly demonic folklore. Like, I really like how they describe the ghosts chasing after the teenagers. And I like how the walls seem to like go on forever. Some cosmic horror shit that I love right there. But in general, it just sounded like a good urban legend, like a really nice horror story. and the ending was kind of like the chef's kiss. I feel like really gross using that term because that's kind of like cringy, but yeah, that's what it was. Like, honestly, I really like how it wrote a testament to the horrors that can lie hidden within the walls of an abandoned building. That is just good writing. But I mean, what can I also expect from an AI? I swear, I feel like I'm like constantly rotating between this is good, this is bad. And I'm conflicted because it's an AI, you know? Like, we'll just cut to the final thoughts right here. A lot of what the AI writes, so far from what I can tell, is pretty good. A lot of this is like on the level of like what can be published today, which I suppose makes sense again because it's an AI, it's scouring the internet. I'm sure it's finding the stories of like scary stories to tell in the dark, or Goosebumps, or other horror stories on Reddit, 4chan, and things like that. Hell, it's probably looking through like transcripts of like YouTube videos and even like compiling all that together to make its own perfect horror story. And I like these a lot, honestly. They're like good horror content, and frankly, I wouldn't be opposed to reading more of these. I know people have their objections to AI, and you know, that's fine, that's your prerogative. And for the most part, I agree with what they're saying. But this is just fun reading. And, you know, as long as like no harm is really being done by reading these horror stories, I don't see why I couldn't read them again. But you guys let me know what you think. Frankly, again, I like a lot of these horror stories, and are better than half of the things I find on like 4chan and Reddit anyway. You let me know if you guys want to see another video like this. If this is fine for you, I will gladly do another. Feel free to comment below so you can be featured in the next video. But I'll leave it at that. I like these AI generated horror stories. Thanks everyone for watching. Let me know what you feel in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.